mornings at this time. 4th District Congressman Jim Himes joins me now. And a bit of good morning to Congressman Himes. How are you doing today?
Hi, Tony. Doing all right. Obviously a somber day today, and, expecting to be up at the memorial service, which will be held at Coscob Park this morning. So doing okay, but obviously it's a tough day for a lot of us.
Your thoughts, where were you on this day in 2001?
Well, I was there. At the time, I was working about 2 blocks from the World Trade Center, and I was actually just on the subway getting to the office at 8:45 when the plane struck, and I'll never forget that moment. They stopped the subway, and it was a good 10 minutes before we could get out, and of course, when we got out of the subway, it was right there, and I'll never forget that moment, looking up at the World Trade Center and seeing the fire. I spent the day down there. Finally got back to Coscob late that night, and like so many people in the area, it's not a day I will ever forget.
But I guess that leads to the question next: as time goes by, will we forget? Are you concerned about that?
Well, I think those of us who were adults at the time will never forget. I mean, you just couldn't be in Greenwich, Connecticut and not be dramatically affected by it. Obviously, lots of our fellow townspeople were lost that day, and even little stuff like, I don't live too far away from the Coscob train station, those cars that sat in the station day in and day out because the people who had driven them in that morning weren't coming home. So I think those of us who are adults, but it is, you ask a very good question, right? I mean, none of our children, of course, remember it. It's history for them. I guess 19 years ago, even our older children have no memory of it. And so, fewer and fewer of us remember what it was like to be that day, which is why, we have a responsibility to attend these memorial services that are happening around the state today and make sure the story gets told, because there's a lot of lessons in that day.
And there's a lot going on, of course, with the COVID pandemic, I should say, as well as the racial justice, things like that. So there's a lot on people's plates these days.
Yeah, there is. It's obviously it's a very difficult time. COVID in particular obviously has, we're getting pretty close to 200,000 Americans lost. I mean, that's just an inconceivable number, and nobody hasn't been touched by that. We're not through it yet. And obviously we're having the controversy here in the state of Connecticut over the playing of football, and, it's undeniable. People are getting really, really tired of the change in the dramatic constriction of our lifestyle that started, about 6 months ago. So, still a very, very tough moment. Of course, that leads to the tough economic moment that we're in. Even in our communities in southwestern Connecticut, there's an awful lot of people around who are hurting, and we're not out of the woods yet. You and I both know, Tony, lots of restaurants in the area have been doing okay because they've been able to serve outside, but, it's getting cooler out there, and come late November, so that's not going to be true, and that really raises the question about whether some of our local businesses will get through this or not. So we're still not out of the woods yet on that either.
And thoughts about the events of this past week with Congress still not able to pass a stimulus package?
Yeah, well, I'm headed down next week. The House will go into session next week, and I'm headed down. We've got 2 things to do by my reckoning. Number one, we obviously have to pass a federal budget and make sure we do not have a government shutdown at the end of this month. I don't think we will, but you never really know. The other thing we got to do is really finally get a follow-on package for the CARES Act done. And, you've seen a lot of posturing. The Republicans in the Senate put forward a bill that was way too small. But if that's a negotiation, that's okay. But of course, if we're stuck where we're stuck, that's not okay. And again, you just need to talk to any small business owner, or, talk to any family whose members have lost their jobs to know that the original CARES package, of which I was very proud, the original CARES package its effects are now gone. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I will certainly be working hard for compromise in the next couple of weeks on a relief package.
And of course, your thoughts about the controversy with the president and Bob Woodward and the book and his comments about the pandemic and not wanting to create a panic.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what he's saying. And I heard him comparing himself to Winston Churchill yesterday. Winston Churchill absolutely leveled with the British people. In fact, there's the famous speech he gave before Parliament where he said he had nothing to offer but blood, sweat, and tears. Our president came before us and said there's 15 cases, they're going to go away. We'll be packing the pews by Easter. Not on this day am I going to be overly partisan, but let's just say those are radically different things.
All right, well, 6 months today, the WHO declared it a pandemic, so we're at the 6-month mark of this pandemic. Congressman Himes, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.